The Democratic National Convention is scheduled to start in just about an hour. Wanted to give you a live look inside the convention hall in Chicago.
Yes, over the next 4 days, Democrats will be trying to persuade voters why a Kamala Harris Tim Walz ticket would be the best one to address the economy, abortion rights, the southern border, and so many other issues, of course. And among those at the convention is Maryland U.S. Congressman Glenn Ivey. He joins us live tonight from Chicago. Congressman Ivey, thank you for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. Congressman, recent polling shows that since Vice President Harris jumped into the race, things have considerably tightened between her and former President Trump, especially when we look at key battleground states, which of course will determine the Electoral College. So what do you attribute this to? I wanted just to kind of dive into some of those polling numbers and see how you feel about them.
Well, I think it hasn't just tightened, she's pulled ahead, in a lot of the key states, which is really surprising. It's a turnaround that's happened in about 3 weeks. I think a lot of it has to do with sort of a new energy and excitement that's been injected into the campaign. Younger voters are now more interested than they had been. It's like a little ironic, because the push by the Republicans had been, to talk about Biden's age. Now the shoe's on the other foot, and it seems to be really hampering the Republicans. And the Republicans are having real trouble finding a message. They haven't figured out how to respond to Vice President Harris's energy and excitement and her positions. And so they're kind of struggling right now. So right now, things are moving in the right direction for Democrats.
All right. And speaking of which, Congressman, usually after a convention, we see the candidates. They have this sort of bump, a big bump. So what does the Vice President, what does she have to do to continue this momentum to Election Day? Is there a particular issue she needs to focus on a bit more, a particular group of voters, perhaps?
Yeah, I think those are all good points. In fact, last week, at the end of the week, she started rolling out economic policies that were aimed at helping people benefit from the positives we had in the economy. You've had 15 million new jobs. Inflation's down to where it was, I think, about 4 years ago. Unemployment's at all-time lows. But not everybody's feeling that. And so I think she's trying to roll out things that will help people with pocketbook issues, dealing with the inflation with groceries and gas, and also rent and mortgages. So I think that's a big step in the right direction. And I think the energy is going to continue as, more people get the chance to hear from her this week. And a lot of the stars of the Democratic Party. You're going to have the Obamas, the Clintons. Biden's going to have a shot at it tonight, too, which I think will be strong. So it's going to be a good week, I think, for Democrats, and we should get a bounce out of this in the polls, as you suggested.
Well, to that point, I wanted to build on that because a lot of her momentum here is coming from younger voters, female voters, black voters. What do you think has them, so excited now versus when President Biden was running?
Well, I mean, apparently, and frankly, I was defending President Biden's decision to stay in up until I guess it was 3 weeks ago. But it does, his exit and his endorsement of the vice president really does seem to have re-energized the party and those voters in a very positive way. And it's helped with donors, too. I don't know what the most recent number is, but I think she'd raised $300 million in that month alone. So, as long as things continue to move in that direction, I think that's very positive for Democrats, and we're going to hope to build on that and continue to spread the message. And also, we got to get volunteers out. She's had a huge influx of new volunteers. I think for younger voters who don't watch TV news, don't read the newspaper, don't listen to the radio in the same way. It needs to be a person-to-person outreach, and more volunteers can help us spread the message person to person.
Now, really quickly, Congressman, we know a lot of folks are talking about the economy, also the southern border. We know former President Trump generally leads on those two issues in polling. So what does the vice president need to do moving forward to sort of change those numbers in her favor?
Yeah, great question. I think with respect to immigration, voters change their mind when they are reminded or hear for the first time that the Senate had a bipartisan bill to address the immigration issue, would have brought on more Border Patrol agents, would have hired more judges to resolve the cases more quickly, would have helped to turn things around faster. That program, that bipartisan policy approach was blocked by President Trump because he didn't want to give the Biden administration a win on the issue. So that's been hugely disappointing, but I think the Biden administration is doing what it can to address it. In fact, I think last month was the lowest number of illegal crossings in 4 years. So things are moving in the right direction. It will help, though, when we get a president who can work with Congress to get something done that will help us strengthen our ability to handle this issue.
All right, Congressman Glenn Ivey, we certainly appreciate your time, your expertise. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
WUSA 9, by the way, and our partners at CBS News will have extensive live coverage of the DNC. Look for our reporting right here on TV and live streaming for free on WUSA 9 Plus. Our Verified team will also be fact-checking the big speakers every night on the news at 11 o'clock and then the next morning on Get Up DC.